Slice of SciFi.
Hello and hi, welcome to another Slice of Sci-Fi. I'm Summer Brooks, and today I am here with the founder and vice president of the East Coast Black Age of Comics Convention. Yumy Odom and Akinseye Brown are here to talk about this, I'm going to say, landmark convention, who is celebrating its 25th year. It will be held Saturday, May 16th, 2026 in Philadelphia at the convention center or the temple?
It's the Student Faculty Center, Temple Student Faculty Center.
Okay, Temple University's Student Faculty Center. All day, May 16th. Go have fun. But we are here to talk about the history of the convention and what it means to the comics community, the Black comics creators community. Yumy, Akin, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Yes, thank you so much. Glad to meet you on this platform.
So can you talk about what led to the creation of this convention and the drive to keep it going this long?
Sure. This actually started 10 years before the actual first convention. It was initially part of my master's thesis. I was just doing a thesis on this Black comic books as neo-mythology. But by the time I met so many people, and this is before I used email or anything, I was writing letters, making phone calls, and I met so many artists right here in Philadelphia and elsewhere. And then as we began to talk, I came up with the idea of just doing a symposium, something academic. But it turned into ECBACC. It was supposed to be a basic academic seminar, discussion, panels, workshops. But the more we talked about it, the more it made sense to actually do a convention, since there was not one like this one. And so then 10 years later, from around 1991, 92, up until 2002, when the convention had its first actual displays, and that was May of 2002. So we're walking into our 25th anniversary, our 25th iteration of the convention.
Yeah, and I think I came in around 2006. So the convention for me was well underway, and I actually found out about it through a good friend and someone that had already been working with the board at the time, Mr. Maurice Waters. And he told me about the event, and I was, I don't use the phrase all the time, but dumbfounded. I felt like, wait a minute, like what? Like where have I been? And lo and behold, I was already out of college at this time. I had my own rudimentary formation of a comic book or a comic book company, but I also had almost, in my mind, nowhere to really go, because at the time, back then, I don't recall or remember recalling any types of on-ramps for creators like myself, people that were novices, but felt that they had a story to tell, but necessarily know where to take it. And then obviously the cultural piece was another aspect of it, of kind of knowing where your audience resided. And so when I heard about the convention and the initiative and the work that was already happening, I said I definitely had to be a part of it. So that was kind of like my first introduction into ECBACC, and ever since I've never let it go. I've always been a part of it.
The fact that this started up after I left the Philadelphia, New Jersey area, I'm taking that personally, but that's on me. That's on me, not on you. Talk about what you did to get the word out to the creators and then grow the convention. I'm assuming it's a lot larger now. It's got a lot larger word of mouth now than it did 25 years ago.
It certainly did. Part of it was that so many of the artists really wanted a place to go as well. So it was easy getting people to get on board. But as I was saying at the time, I had no social media. As we said before this started, I have 17 Facebook pages. At that time, I just had a telephone and my feet and letters. Literal physical letters were written to these artists across the country, but even right here in Philadelphia. One of them I use all the time, and that's Reggie Byers, who did Jam Quacky and Shuriken. He goes back to 1985. He sent me a letter that I post every single year because at this point, everything now is done on social media. At that point, we were literally just writing letters to each other and making phone calls. But there was actual need for ECBACC, and that's why it was so easy for us to get people onboarded. It was a little bit simpler then in terms of having the convention because there were no examples of it. We are like the first example that people could use across the country to model like an urban center comic book convention.
Mhm. Yes, yes. And for me, I do recognize the growth in our community as far as numbers are concerned. But I think what impacts me even more is the growth in the friendships that have been built, the networking that has been built amongst the number of artists and professionals that have come through ECBACC, and not only I might be talking two different answers at the same time. Not only a growth in number, a growth in uh, in awareness, but also a growth in everyone professionalism. I mentioned before, when I came to ECBACC, I considered myself very much a novice. I had no uh, experience, going to or showing an audience member or or a possible fan or customer, my comic. I had no experience of that. I've been on job interviews before. I put on suits and ties and applied for scholarships. But I've never shown anyone my personal work in that kind of manner before ECBACC came along. And I think over the numbers of years of meeting like-minded people, men and women with some of the same experiences from different levels, I think we've all grown in our ability to be confident in what we were doing. And I think ECBACC has been able to reflect that confidence over the 25 years. So I think we're all proud of where we've come.
Has the convention always been focused on uh, literacy and education, not just general education, but educating potential creators on how to become comics artists, how to become comics writers, how to pursue a path into indie comics if that's where they're going? Because I personally love like workshops and panels that talk that give helpful information to people looking to enter that creative space.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that ECBACC can definitely be most proud of is that our workshops have been primarily twofold, right? One set of workshops have been dedicated to quote unquote younger audiences, our young folks that like to come in and dream of heroes and dream of stories and fantasy and be able to draw characters that look like them and learn how to do those kind of things from more seasoned or older artists, if you will. And The other portion of our workshops are typically dedicated to the professional aspects of creation and publication, or becoming a publisher. So we've had a number of different artists, again from different levels, that have been able to come in and speak about their experiences and speak about some of their successes in the industry, as 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 well as their entrepreneurial endeavors, and
Mhm.
taught many people that have come to ECBACC how they did it and what steps can they take to do the exact same thing. Because ECBACC has always been a space where there uh, there has been no uh, real place for competition, if that makes sense. Everybody there is sincerely interested and uplifting everyone else. It's something that, that's kind of a saying amongst the community. Sometimes you hear people saying things like, you know, I want everybody to eat. thinking about, thinking about food, or thinking about that nourishment, or those resources. I want everybody to get the benefits and the blessings that I have, because then, I feel more elevated myself. So, ECBAC has really been able to have that type of holistic environment, and to continue that again for 25 years, and not to talk about any other type of environments, but I will say that what it seems to us is that that could be considered slightly rare, to have an environment where everyone is really um, each other's cheerleader. And
Mhm.
so, we're very happy to be able to have a place like that.
Yeah. And the other part of your question has to do with literacy. This is
Mhm.
why I really fought so hard to get ECBAC started, because it was going to end up initially as something very academic. And I like that because this is how, and I tell people all the time, how I was able to get high scores on the PSAT and the SAT because I read comic books. So we always use comic books and literacy as a source for our workshops, for promoting comic books, for promoting the professionals who are doing mostly art, but we focus on the writing component as well. So literacy and arts is how we kind of build the organization.
Mhm.
That foundation of literacy, what did you have? Was that part of your original thesis where this idea came from, that to use comic books to encourage kids to start reading more?
Yes, indeed, because I use myself as the example. And this is also why our board works so well because we all come from a different kind of perspective. I don't draw, but I do write. I'm a grammarian. Akinseye draws. Stephanie is like an analyst, and Brother Shankar is like I was going to say comforter. What is Brother Shankar?
He is very much the, for lack of a better term, he has his ear and nose to what the fans like and what. So he's the person that you would definitely see in the comic book shop every Wednesday and Friday. He's the person that knows what books are coming out and when, and whose powers are stronger than whose, and what's going on with the companies, and also what's going on with the fans. So the four of us can definitely be able to be the one that kind of knows what's going on in the streets, if you will, in the comic book streets. He knows what's going on, and that's important. And that's important.
So he's the one to have on your trivia team when you're talking, when you get to the comic book section.
Hey, yes, he is the one. He is the absolute one. He's also the czar, kind of title that we use, the czar of what we call AfriCoz, which is the Africana inspired cosplay contest that we, I think, initiated back in 2012. I want to say
2012. Yep. Yep.
in 2012. Yeah. So, and that, speaking of the things that Mr. Yumy had listed as some of the first that ECBAC was involved in, that was also a first, to have a cosplay contest that celebrated Black and Brown characters. And at that time, it was very common for cosplay contests or cosplayers to kind of sometimes leave out the black and brown heroes that that we know and love. And at ECBACC, it was such a beautiful sight to behold, to see numerous black and brown characters just come together in the love of themselves, and just celebrating, the culture behind the characters, as well as the powers that we see coming out of their gloves and things like that. So ECBACC has definitely been, in the forerunner of putting positive images first.
I would love to see somebody's, like a few cosplayers' takes on some serious Afrofuturistic space opera badasses.
Oh yeah, yeah, you can definitely do that at AfriCoz, and we've had that. I'm not sure if I'd be able to remember the gentleman's name, but Mr. Yumy, remember I think the gentleman from Baltimore would come up every year, and he would make his own space age armor of characters that he would create from his own imagination.
Nice.
I can see him. I can see him right now because he's made several different armored costumes.
Yes, yes, and they were definitely Afro-futuristic before the word was in the zeitgeist.
So he's actually building his own personal armored, like, mecha.
Oh yeah, he's done it. He's done it. Helmet, swords, array of weapons, body armor.
Nice. Very
Various
nice.
colors. Yeah, yeah. You probably can see some of that on our website if you visit it.
Mhm.
Excellent. So when you guys were reaching out to comics creators, to artists, to writers, did you also work with any of the art schools or any of the art programs in some of the universities and high schools around?
Well, at this point, we've been to every single library. We went to most of the high schools. The convention started on a college campus at Temple University. That was our first venue for the convention. And we've been all across this city in all different kind of capacities. I think we can safely say that we are the convention that introduced the comic book workshop to like the whole world. People doing all those all around the world right now. But we introduced our Stars workshop. We had a creating great comic book workshop, creating great superhero workshop. We have about 15 different workshops that we use throughout the year.
Yes.
And I'm guessing you also have a room, a dealer space where people can bring their comics to sort of showcase them and sell them to fans who either know of them or have never heard of them before.
Well, that's our major focus. ECBACC actually, and I joke about it, but it's actually serious. ECBACC doesn't have an artist alley. The artist is the spotlight for the convention. So we don't have a separate space. The artists, the writers, the readers, all in the same room. They're not set aside because you can walk to any table and find an artist, you can find a writer, you can find a fan, you can find people doing all kinds of things amongst themselves. So we don't really separate the convention in terms of having an artist alley per se.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a number of activities that happens at ECBACC, but just like Mr. Yumy is saying, there's no artist alley, there's no levels of participation or levels of vendorship, if you will, if you want to call it that. But yeah, our marketplace is one of our key features of the convention, and the earlier mentioned workshop, the youth workshops and professional workshops are also very much sought after for the attendees that come to ECBACC to enjoy.
So talk about some of the workshops and panels that people can look forward to at this year's convention. And just to double check, I'm reminding here, it's free to attend for everybody.
Yes.
Okay.
It's been free for 23 of 25 years.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
So a number of the workshops, again, are going to either be geared toward the younger audiences, or for the most part, be something that a up and coming professional might like. So first and foremost, we have our kids library zone, and that's usually starting around 11 a.m. first thing. So families, bring the young folks, young kiddies out. You know, they'll be able to learn from professionals how to make their own cartoon characters, how to make comics, how to, you know, and we definitely break the lessons down very small. It's not like a great immersive type of thing where we're looking for a young person to make a 24-page comic or anything. We're definitely talking about like those basic fundamentals of, you know, structuring your characters and naming
Mm-hmm.
your heroes, and also parts of the story, you know, dovetailing it back to what Mr. Yumy was talking about as far as literacy is concerned. Comic books are a great way to talk about the four season storytelling, which is, you know, character, conflict, climax, and conclusion. And once we bring that to children, they have a better understanding of how stories are built and created, and thereby have a better comprehension when they go back and read things in school. But the other workshops that we're having, as far as the professional workshops, are Illustration One workshop with an artist named Micheline Hess. She is definitely a great artist, and a great illustrator. We'll talk more about her later on, but we also have our writers workshop, led by a writer and director named Kalani Davis from the Philadelphia area. And then we have our panel discussions, and they're going to be in various rooms this year. They're called the Our Images panels, and they each take on a different topic that either deals with comic book professionalism or a topic in the industry that affects all manner of comic book creator or writer or artist. But this year, we're happy to have a comic book panel that's called Comics, Libraries, and Museums. And on that panel, we'll have as moderator our president, Mr. Yumy Odom, and we'll have a librarian by the name of Rich Torrance to sit on the panel to talk about his perspective on how speculative with institutions and their missions. And we'll also have a guest panelist by the name of Morgan Lloyd, who is the program coordinator at the African American Museum here in Philadelphia. And she'll be Skyping in to talk a little bit more about her experiences with comics and sci-fi and speculative fiction, and how those things become tools, important tools for our institutions. And in conjunction with that, to also be giving us a little bit of insight on the Afrofuturism exhibit that is actually happening at the African American Museum right this minute, featuring the works of Ruth Carter from Black Panther. And I believe that's the last thing I'll bring up really quickly is a new feature to the Xbox roster, which is called the Afroscape. Now, the Afroscape is a room in the area where we introduce our attendees to tabletop role-playing games that are founded or that have an African myth or have some sort of positive Black images within the characters or within the storytelling, or even the creator themselves may come from a background that is Afrocentric. So we're really excited about the interest that our patrons are having with the things like D&D and things like Orb's Eye and a new game called Zyru. So we're very happy to be able to share that with everyone. So that's going to be on May 16th. So please come on out.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, the expansion into gaming seems to be literally like a natural connection, because most of the TTRPGs, the cards have incredible art on them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And when our audience is able to see the work from Zyru, you'll be able to see a lot of those Afro-futuristic images that we were kind of mentioning earlier within the game system itself. So you'll be able to see those kind of traditional cultures matching with mythic magic and science fiction flair, and also be able to go into the world that these characters are traversing and get into all those different kinds of adventures. So, we as a convention, we kind of see the we see no barriers and we see no boundaries with what we do. Obviously, storytelling is a part of everything in the world. It's a part of history, it's a part of our families' lives, it's a part of business, it's a part of everything, part of politics. Storytelling is a part of everything. So, so what we do at ECBACC is we feel like we give young people and families the ability stories, and then not only that, to be able to tell their own stories, so now they can feel like they're a part of everything as well. And with ECBACC, we like to be able to, again, see no boundaries and see no barriers to any types of subjects that we think is important, because storytelling is everywhere and positive images are going to be always important.
Are there any resources, say on the website or on your social medias, for people who cannot attend in person, that they can avail themselves of some of these educational tidbits that you're providing?
Yes, right now, and obviously that area is still growing as On Life is growing for everybody in the planet. But right now, we are having our Glyph Comics Award as an online experience, and that's going to be coming up this Saturday. And once people are able to visit our website, you'll be able to see the links and things like that for them to be able to participate and be able to, I guess, attend online virtually for our awards program. But what we also are building on our website is the ability for people like teachers and educators to be able to have some tips and things that they could do in the classroom that will allow them to best use comics in their lessons and things like that. So we have a few. Back in the day, we used to call them runoff sheets. We have a few copy sheets and activity sheets on our website that teachers can download for free and be able to use in their classrooms at this moment. That would definitely be good activities to teach from or to use when they're talking about storytelling, they're talking about positive images. But yeah, our online presence is definitely growing, and we're definitely happy for that. As we were talking earlier about our YouTube presence, we're definitely looking to bolster that up as well. But yeah, more online presence is coming. We definitely have one on Facebook. That's a long-standing presence on Facebook. Instagram is definitely there. You can just type in our name, ECBACC, in Instagram or Facebook. And yeah, come and find us. You can always dialogue with us, and somebody will always get back to you.
That's great. No, because I was wondering if there was a connection to schools, because with the literacy connection, and I'm glad that there are resources there. But now we have to talk about the Glyph Comics Awards, because that was going to be my next question. So thank you for leading me into that.
No
problem. These awards are have become a really big deal. Talk about how that came about and what you're looking to showcase every year with these.
Yumy, I think you were first started.
Yeah, the first actual Glyph Award was in 2006. It was brought to us by Rich Watson, who founded his blog was called the Glyphs.
It was called the Glyph.
That was 2005. So we met with him early on, and he wanted ECBACC to maybe co-sponsor, but he ended up handing us the Glyph Awards to do, and we've done them every year since then.
Yes.
And so, although it says Black comics, it's not just about the Black people who write the comics. Anybody who has a Black character can be submitted for a Glyph Award. It's about the images and the characters. It's not so much about the person, him or herself. So this is our 21st year hosting the Glyph Awards. And it started off international, and it still is international. People from all over
Absolutely.
the globe have submitted work to ECBACC,
Yes.
from Senegal, the Netherlands,
Mhm.
France, Spain, you name it. They've been submitting work to ECBACC.
Right. And I think that's what's so powerful about the Glyph Awards is because it's made in real time the importance of positive black and brown images an international concern. Um, who would think that someone, two continents over would be thinking the exact same thing I am in my artist bedroom, drawing superheroes and capes with people that look like me. There's someone, a country away thinking the same thing, feeling the same way. And we can say, various things about what has come of the internet and has the world changed and what has happened, pros and cons. But what we can say is because of our electronic access to different parts of the world and being able to showcase what the Glyph Award is about, we've been able to, make our community both larger, but then also smaller in a way. We're able to get closer because of the Glyph Awards, because we are able to find like-minded people that have the same sensibilities and the same principles and the same values of uplifting positive images. And so that's a very very powerful tool, and I can definitely see it growing immensely, from this moment on.
You mentioned people would be able to watch the awards announcements via live stream. Where would they go for that?
Yeah, that I don't have the actual name of the link, but that's going to be available on our website.
Okay, so we will.
It's going to appear on all of our pages. Like I said, I have 17 pages. So it's on the ECBACC public page, the ECBACC group page. It's under my name, YUMYODOM. All the information is there for Saturday. It's Saturday, May 9th from 3 o'clock to 4:30 p.m.
Oh, so the awards are before the actual convention.
A week before.
Yeah.
Typically, we did it on the Friday night before the convention when we used to be at the African American Museum in Philadelphia on 7th and Arch Street. But COVID kind of threw a loop to everybody. And so we ended up having to go virtual with the Glyph Awards. And even with ECBACC for like 1 or 2 years, I think we had a virtual ECBACC award and
Mhm.
ECBACC convention.
Okay, well, we will keep an eye out for the awards ceremony links to go out ahead of the convention. Make a note of that. I wish you guys all the luck in the world, all the blessings in the world to keep this going, because this is a wonderful convention, a wonderful idea, a wonderful community to help spread the community of artists, writers, and readers.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to a very successful ECBAC this year. And again, like you said, just growing the community and expanding the awareness of what we do, and letting the world know that there's artists and writers that are just waiting for them to read their work. There's so much work here that we see at ECBAC every year, and they're just waiting. The artists, the writers, the producers, the creators are just
Mhm.
waiting to show and share with everyone. So, it's going to be wonderful for everybody to be able to see it, and we invite everyone to come out.
Great. Well, uh, Yumy, Odom, Akin, Brown, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your passion for Black comics and the Black comic creator community.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you again. This has been awesome. Thanks so much.
And we'll be back with more Slice of Sci-Fi right after this. Hey, this is Summer, and I'd like to remind everybody about the Star Trek book I co-edited, Women Take the Con, an unauthorized Star Trek essay collection by women writers about the women of Star Trek, the original series. And I'm really proud of this. Hope you guys go check it out. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. The link is right here. My co-editor, Rich Handley, was instrumental in pulling all of the elements for this book together. And we are really proud of this book. So if you are a fan of Star Trek, the original series, support us. Check it out. I thank you. Rich thanks you. Star Trek fans, thank you.